So I just want to talk about traffic, and there's no better guest, I guess, to talk to.
I mean, a career about it.
I mean, I could like bother people who was actually in traffic, but I might not get a good answer. But yeah, welcome to the Medyo Serious Talk Show, James Deakin. Oh, a fist bump, first fist
Well,
bump.
we're still pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
a post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic.
Can never be too careful. Did you ever go through the
the elbow?
Yeah, but you're not sure.
Yeah,
like you go in with the fist and you turn to the elbow and then
and
you
then
get
the high five.
Yeah.
Then
Wow.
it ends up in a beso. You get contracted COVID anyway. But yeah. Man. Welcome. Medyo Serious Talk Show with Red Oliero. As you can see, I'm kind of
Medyo
serious.
serious,
Yes. I hope that you get it. Some people don't get it. They
I
thought
think
I just go around it with a
I'll match it.
Yeah, there you go. Two buttons open.
Yeah.
There you go. That's great. So, well, now we're recording is like in the middle of the day. Not much traffic. There's still kind of traffic, which kind of sucks because parang when we're talking about Manila, it seems that there's no more concept of like no rush hour this time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, if you're like thinking about what's causing all this traffic jam, there's like a lot of theories, and I want to confirm some of the theories. One is it because there's too many people in Metro Manila. Do you think that's the...
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%. That's definitely true. It's not the only thing, but it's definitely true.
Okay. And then two is that public transportation is not developed.
100% true.
Okay. And then we're going to finish this episode.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Mutual Agreement Society of the Philippines here.
And then third, are there too much private cars? Because that's one of the debates going on here.
Short answer, yes. Medyo long answer, see what I did there?
Yeah, okay.
Incorporated your title, is it's a failure of the public transportation system. So it's hard to blame the private because you haven't created a parallel system that's more efficient.
So it's like a chicken and egg sort of deal.
Yes, but more chicken. The government should take the role. So if you're going to go on the chicken and the egg, the government should be that.
I don't know
source, which one, the egg or the chicken. We haven't answered that question, but yes, they should take the initiative because they are the government. So you create a parallel system that's better, like Singapore, Hong Kong, and any of our other Southeast Asian neighbors, and it doesn't become anything that you need to force or mandate anymore. It just becomes logical. That's what we want to hit, sana.
Do you know if there's like a development on this? Are you privy on this knowledge?
Well, there's a subway. That's the biggest news coming out of the system. It's a subway.
Usually, it's like a subway. Does it take this long to
make? Yeah. Okay, for sure. So there's, it does take a long time, and there are disruptions. In fact, I think the disruptions haven't been so bad yet.
Okay.
Definitely great things coming with the subway, but nowhere near enough. But good things definitely is going to help. But I think without forward planning, without this like long term, we got to think in decades at least.
Definitely.
Like you got the countries that think in centuries, like let's say China.
Wow.
China's one of the countries that think in centuries, but most have to think in decades. Us, we think like, I don't know, minutes.
Yeah.
At the most.
Yeah.
So we're always reacting.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like when you're just forever reacting and you
don't stay on the game plan.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not, because you're forever just this thing that's reacting to the latest drama that's created from not reacting earlier enough. So you just fall into this loop. And my worry, Red, is that I've seen throughout my years of trying to solve this, I should have picked the meaning of life na lang. That would have been easier. But I chose this, and I named 4 ulcers after it. But after seeing how it like I was thinking, they can't be this dumb, naman. They can't not see what we're talking about.
Naman. Yeah.
But then you realize there's medyo a concerted effort in some ways to keep it the same way because there's more profit in chaos.
Is it?
For certain parties.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
For certain parties. We won't name names na lang, but there are certain places where, let's take another example. If you have an inefficient agency, let's take away from traffic lang, any inefficient agency. As soon as you create the efficiency there, how many people lose work? All the fixers, all the people that were profiting. So there's a shadow industry around it.
Yes.
Now you just do the math and lang and apply it to traffic.
It's like a sort of like another black market.
Yes, because we're not trying to solve cancer or AIDS or anything like that. This is something with a very established solutions globally, and you don't say there's not much difference between this country and that country. Traffic's traffic, volume's volume. there has been a certain set of solutions that are tried and proven. So why not take the best case practices from all those countries and apply it here?
Yeah.
It's like almost like, what else are you looking for?
Yeah.
Are you looking for any other way except what
There
works?
are working case studies.
Yes.
Everywhere, right?
It's like going to the gym, to a fitness trainer, and say, all right, I want this body, all right, this perfect body here. I just don't want to work out. What other way can I do this? And there will be trainers. There will be, let's say, dubious trainers, or that will say, they'll lead you down if they're getting money from it, right? Also, take this pill, take this, have this nutrition, blah blah blah, and whatever. And then after 5 years, they'll say, well, sorry, it normally works, but in your case, it didn't. And so, but the thing is, there's really no substitute. We all know the answer. It's consume less than you put out, work out, exercise more. All this stuff is very basic stuff. Same applies for traffic. I mean, one, you can't cheat the volume that we've got here. That's why when you started with that, I have to agree, that is a serious problem. So how do you solve that? You have to go decentralizing. You have to create this decongestion, and you have to bring them out into the nearby provinces. So you have to create these economic hubs that are real economic hubs. Right?
They're doing something in
Clark,
Global City.
They are like not fast enough, but they are doing something to be fair. But I think we can be far more aggressive. Is all I'm saying. Like we saw how we handled the pandemic, right? I mean, they threw everything at that. The kitchen sink. We were really now. If we only applied 20% of that kind of dedication and commitment, we would solve traffic. Because
so you think like it's not being prioritized because people are benefiting from it?
There's so many different factors. That is one. That's one, right? But it's not the biggest one, because obviously, when I look at the whole situation, I see, okay, you work with incentives, and what incentive does one man can't solve it, right? So, or not even one agency can solve it. So you look at what's the incentive for that one, for everyone to come together and solve it. Mahirap. So and it's so easy to outsource or distribute the blame, right? It's precisely because of the way it's set up. You know, the LTO can point to the MMDA, who can point to the DOTR, who can point to the bus companies, to the jeepney companies, to the private cars. And then where I get very frustrated is that usually, and how I started this whole thing was because I saw it was always, when the blaming ended up like that, it always ended up on the private car.
Yes, exactly.
And the private car, because we had the least representation. Yeah. We have Manibela, you have Pedjodap, and all these other places that will speak and advocate for these other groups, right? I'm not saying that's wrong, but they had theirs. When it comes to private cars, voila. So, si James Deakin na lang sa Facebook page niya. So, it becomes low-hanging fruit or easy targets for, sige, let's ban them. Because anyway, they can't really rally together and strike. And if they did strike, we'd all be very happy. So, that's where I felt we always got the butt of it.
Tama. And honestly, I drove my car here, but honestly, if I could like, take a train and then another bus and then walk a little bit, like I've done in Singapore or Thailand or wherever that there's better public transportation, I would have done so.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you said that the amount of private cars is impacted by the lack of like public transportation,
a failure in that.
a failure in public transportation. Do you think like if we improve everything, subway gets done, MRT is better, buses are better, do you think it would make like a significant?
Because I can just, even on track record alone, you can look at countries like Thailand. I mean, they were more chaotic than we were.
I was so surprised. I was there last year and I'm like, wow,
right? Wow. So you can see that they do it. Now, an even better example of that is even when normally the spoiled class of Filipino moves over or visits another country, they use
take trains.
They can take a cab, but they don't, because they say, sayang naman eh.
Yeah, exactly.
We can take the train. It's faster. I can get where I need to go. And so it becomes just a logical decision. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You should incentivize it to the point where it just makes sense and it stands on its own. So yes, I do agree. If we can fix that, we fix a giant part of the problem. Giant, because where a few years back, when I was fighting for ride sharing in Uber, which was I think around 2017, before Uber left the country. The reason I was so passionate about that was because I felt I'd never seen a solution that came as close to Uber at the time to solving our problem, because it directly attacks the private car addiction.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, okay, like, all right, if you put more buses right now in the Philippines, we have to be honest and realistic. Even if you put more buses and taxis and stuff like that, the class that we're talking about, the private car class, won't necessarily put their daughters and their sons and their mothers in those types of vehicles, unless there's a huge radical improvement.
Yeah.
But Uber, they already did, because they trusted it. It felt like a private car alternative, which it was.
It was like I was riding Ubers
It wasn't
every day.
taking away. It wasn't taking away from taxis, because
Exactly.
the same person, I would not put my kid in a taxi, but I was putting them in Ubers, and my kids were at that time under 18.
Yeah.
I think my son was 17, 16. He was catching Ubers
Because that's
alone.
security, you can track
Yes.
the vehicle,
Exactly.
like the GPS, yeah.
So that meant, for me, when you look at that thing, I was like, okay, I don't have to get that kid a car when he turns 18, or a driver, or I don't need to keep a separate coding car.
Tama.
Now, you imagine how many people, you multiply that, millions of cars could be off the road because we would have a pool to share.
Yeah.
That's in the perfect theory of it. Now, because Uber left, and you can argue they were pushed out, even though it was their decision in the end. They just said too many battles on too many fronts. So they pulled out of the country, and we got left with just one.
Just one, yeah.
And then when you have just one, we all know what happens there.
Yeah.
So it never, hilaw.
Yeah.
It's still there. We appreciate Grab for what it is. Not a knock against them, because I think anyone would want to be in this situation.
Yes, exactly.
You're in business, right? It's the goal. It should be government that really created this healthy competition. That really made them, like, remember how competitive it was when Uber was there.
Yeah. They were like giving away promos left and right.
Yes. And that would have created the culture, because the culture is it's the hardest thing to change. You can provide solutions, but if you haven't affected the driving culture or that, automatically we embraced, because we felt it was more convenient, more efficient. It was even cheaper. At the time, it was cheaper than keeping a private car. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then now everyone accepts it. You do 5 or 6 years of that, before you know it, people are in that habit of, why would I buy the whole car when I just need a thingy here and there, and the system's reliable?
Tama.
But sadly, we didn't get there.
Oh man. Is there like a way to kind of like compete with Grab now, or anything, or put like a competition para lang hindi monopoly, so we could at least somewhat re-achieve that potential or something?
Theoretically, yes. Although with Uber, they signed an agreement that they cannot. So that was part of their exit, is they tied up with Grab. They gave a percentage. I can't remember the exact percentage, but part of the deal was they exit Southeast Asia. So from Uber's point, that's where they came out with the statement, too many battles on too many fronts. And it did make sense, because every country they went to, they had the same regulatory resistance that they had, to the varying degrees. In the Philippines, it was kind of high, because they just didn't budge, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was willing to budge on the LTFRB side at the time. So they engineered this deal with Grab and said, okay, fine, we'll exit the market, but you give us a percentage. And it worked out well for those two. Sadly, not for everyone else.
Oh, man. Let's go back to like maybe the drivers and the people. Kasi parang when you drive, you notice there's a lot of drivers that are not very ethical with how they drive. Like, we don't merge alternately here. We don't wait for people to, like, if kung sumenyas ka, shifting lanes, you have a less chance to shift lanes because they will cut you, di ba? Ganong klase. Is driver education, do you think it... Because sometimes
huge.
I would see it would be traffic in one side. It's just because people were stopping by and checking out the accident that happened the other side of the road. Things like that. Do you think...
Yes, I do. And
better driver education? Yeah?
100%. You see, that's why it's so hard to just say, oh, well, there's no one magic pill, because everything you're saying has a very significant contribution. So you can, if you solve the driver education problem, it will improve, but not, you need it to work with other things. But yes, I would, to answer your question straight, there's what you call, most of the a lot of traffic jams are called phantom jams. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where you're like, you're crawling and crawling and crawling and
Totoo,
crawling.
totoo.
And before you know it, boom,
Oh,
maluwag. What the hell happened there? What the hell happened is because maybe two were double parked maybe on this, which created a little bottleneck. And when the people went to the bottleneck, they checked. And it was just that slowdown effect. What I learned from traffic is it has this ripple effect. And they've done this on like Discovery Channel and other different National Geographic explaining, like if I'm traveling at 80 on a highway and I get off the gas, or just say tap my brake, from 80 to 75 or something like that, right? Just because I was just not, or I'm not maintaining.
tama, you're not cruising.
Yeah, I'm not cruising. Okay, the accordion effect or the ripple effect of that is when I do this car does that, it amplifies. So by the time it gets down to like 50 cars back, or depending on the speeds you're talking about, I'm just rough figures, that car, 50 cars back, is at a full stop. The one causing the jam is going from 80 to 70 or 75. But when you put that accordion effect down, it amplifies and it just keeps building.
That's what phantom
That's
jams
what phantom
are.
jam.
Wow.
So now you can see how much an undisciplined driver can, how much impact they have.
Oh my God.
You know, like even sometimes it drives me freaking nuts when I'm like, when I see a police vehicle or a police bike or an enforcer bike on the side of the road, like on a lane, where he's standing there doing this. And he's basically enforcing the very rule he's breaking, right? He's there to park to make sure nobody else parks. But, dude, I mean, you know, you're that pebble in the river.
Everybody's like avoiding you.
Everyone's avoiding. Now, what happens when you see a human being on a main road, standing on the main road? You will naturally slow down and give unless you're a real jerk. No? But most human beings would be like, tao yan eh. So you're going to go out wide, and of course, the lane next to you is going to have to, before you know it, that one little enforcer, I'm getting a little passionate here, that one enforcer there has caused so much. About a kilometer down the road, it's people are shooting each other already from anger.
Tama.
Not literally, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So can I just say that I'm so relieved na may term pala yung phantom. It's a phantom. Did you coin that?
No,
or?
I didn't. I wish I did. But no.
Talaga? So,
phantom jams, yeah.
Is there like a parang traffic dissertation that kind of like coined this term?
I have no idea who coined it, but I've been hearing it for years.
Really?
So yeah, no, I'd love to take credit, but it wasn't me.
But kasi sometimes talaga parang pupunta ka sa isang place tapos you're stuck, and then when you're stuck in traffic, you're trying to figure out what's happening over there.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you get there, it's like,
especially like yung mga NLX and stuff like that, where it's moving naman. I mean, because these are a little different to bottlenecks. Bottlenecks can also have a phantom jam effect, but you can at least see, like if you go to Taft.
It makes sense.
Cross Taft Avenue. You're going EDSA or Buendia and you cross under that Taft Avenue. And it's
Grabe yun. Always yun, no?
Always. It's like
even on Sundays.
Anarchy. It's like that's like there you can see at least, okay, there's a bottleneck, so people are squeezing in. That makes sense. But on the NLX, when there's nobody crashed, there's nobody broken down the side of the road, it's just one or two, they're just doing this, or they're just not consistent in the speed, or they tap their brakes. So yeah, that would definitely be a huge factor, and discipline.
I never thought that it would come to, I would say this is more of like driver skill than knowing ethics and rules. Like, I thought parang it would be because not a lot of people, you know, when they get their licenses, naka-fixer and everything, they not really proper educated on the ethics, on like how they should let people here, overtake on the left side, use this lane is just for overtaking and things like that. But I think this is more of like controlling and, you know, not rabbit starting and things like that. It's more of skill. So can that be addressed? Like, can we tell people how to properly drive their...
It can be done. It'll take a while. You'd have to go through a very intensive educational program, like Relentless. Usually comedians do a great job of educating by shaming people, you know, and ikaw lang mag-relate if you're in that basket or not. No? Because I kind of use that approach when on my page. I would call out bad drivers, not by name, obviously, I don't know them. And everybody universally agrees with the behavior. But then sometimes you'll be like, you have to stop and think, am I that person? But I'm not calling you out directly. So you have a nice, graceful way out. But by shaming the behavior,
bringing it up,
shaming it and bringing it up and making it sort of stigmatizing that behavior. Anyway, the behavior is generic. It's not a person. We call it a kamote, right? Kawawa naman the kamotes. They got a bad rap for it, but there you go. Now, nobody wants to be a kamote. So I think it helps. It definitely helps. Now, we were to, let's say, have a fully funded government program in a dream wish, let's say, and the government said, okay, we're earmarking this amount of money to re-educating drivers. If I was in charge, I would be hiring like influencers, comedians, and stuff. Make material on this. We got to think out of the box now, right? Because nobody likes to listen anymore to that guy with the pointer. And
even if it was free, I don't think people would like, iba? People.
Yeah, you got those you know, when we were in school, and then those, or they look like safety videos of a factory, you know, with the guy with the hard hat. Before you come in, you must know the fire exits are here, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So work with the pop culture, work with influencers, comedians, talents. Just get that word out there wherever the word is, and then educate. Use signage, billboards, whatever it takes to really get everybody on the same page. But that takes a lot of effort and commitment. And it has to be hand in hand with other things, because if you just fix that, but you don't fix the roads, you don't fix the public transportation, you don't fix all the other chaos around there, mawawalan ng gana yung mga tao rin.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them. One of my biggest things that I get really angry about, except for that enforcer,
the one specific enforcer.
Throughout the show, there will be many. The biggest thing that angers me is also yung parang when there's a blatant disregard right in front of you that is not, that the MMDA or none of them pick up on. Like, for example, you see the jeepneys that go through the red lights.
Yes.
And you see everybody, all the enforcers there. You see those e-bikes and e-trikes that are not allowed on the road. We have rules, we have laws, a national law about that. And they're right in front of the enforcer. You don't even need to be educated. You could just come straight from a coconut tree, and you'll realize between right and wrong. Because you'll see a double standard. You don't have to be smart or anything. And that's what people feel when they see wang-wangs, when they see these blatant disregard, and it's just being ignored by enforcer. You cannot implement. It's game over. Nothing else you implement will make sense because they see the double standard.
Clear-cut case then on your point before na some people benefit from it because like yung wang-wangs. Because parang racket ng
exactly.
Di ba?
Exactly. Like why you were saying, who would be benefiting without naming names, but let's that's a good one because we'll just generalize a lot. If you are of that kind of culture that you have to travel with 2 or 3
police motorbikes,
police motorbikes and backup vehicles, etc. Why would you want to create a system where now it's all organized? Because you wouldn't be able to use that. So it hurts you. You'd rather be the king lording over the ashes of society as long as you felt. And usually, without trying to generalize, these people are the people in power. The people who are abusing it are the ones who are capable to make the rules. But therefore, they're gatekeeping that because they're like, no, we like being above this.
Or even if they're not really consciously gatekeeping it, it's not on their priority because it doesn't affect them. Right?
I can go in the bus lane if I want to, right? Well, why am I going to risk my entire career fighting this? It's also a thankless job. I've felt that over how many years. You know how hard, because my passion has been, aside from traffic, it really comes from road safety. Because I've seen firsthand what happens. And that's not, I've worked in an ambulance before. I've driven an ambulance for here in Metro Manila. And I've seen firsthand the carnage and the effect that a road accident has. And there's just, my hair is standing now. It's not just life-changing, bro. You go into a hospital and you see the family turn up. And you see those, you can't unsee that they unfeel what you just saw. And there's not one situation ever in the history of accidents and stuff where that person went out that day and said, I think I'm going to get into a car accident today. And the family's like, you know what? I think so too, so let's prepare. No, it never happens. It just happens like that. And that's why it's everybody's responsibility. But it's not a sexy topic. You try and sell that on social media. And everyone else is showing flesh and whatever other things that, it's not easy.
It's going to get like 20 likes.
That's why I had to grab the camotes, to help me out there a little bit. Because You have to make it a little bit interesting or something like that. But it's a tough sell.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard. I think sometimes things that doesn't need to kind of play politics needs to play politics with like not even just. I'm not even talking about like government or anything. I'm just talking about like the time in someone's news feed. We have to make content palatable to educate, even if it's super important, right?
Yes.
I mean, at the minimum, people would think that would be like priority for people to learn, but not anymore.
Not anymore. The attention spans are just going.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen on TikTok now and Facebook? The ones that are getting the 100 and 300 million views are those 1 second videos. Have you seen those ones?
Yeah.
Where it's ping, ping, ping. It's some guy blinking or a girl blinking, and that's 300 million views.
Yeah.
What's happened to us?
They don't even listen to whole songs anymore. They have like the 15-second songs get hits now because they're clipped to like 15 seconds and the TikTok.
And can you imagine if you're the
crazy.
artist that bled for that song and then
wrote it for 3 years.
you wrote it for 3 years, play that song, and some idiot goes, "Oh, that's a song from TikTok."
Yeah.
No, TikTok, it's my song. TikTok got a slice of it. They think, "Oh, TikTok, that's a TikTok song." No, it's not. It's a
now
artist
length becomes like a filter for like who's a real fan or not. Yeah.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's the same thing with the topic. Like if they really want to educate themselves or gusto nilang malaman talaga kung ano yung tamang gawin, they'll go through at least this like 45-minute discussion at least.
Like Jordan Peterson had he said something that was really funny because he always gets attacked when he goes to the schools, right? He has his agendas more on the right and the schools are left, etc. He said how he solved that was he held all these talks in the morning.
Tama.
None of those.
I did the same thing with my Netflix special. Like a lot of people doesn't like religious jokes, so I put my religious joke right at the very end. So if you got this far, you must really like comedy.
Great tactic.
That's really it. That's really it. It's such a weird thing that we have to be kind of like clever and sly just to, get out this really important, because everybody goes, everybody commutes, everybody drives, things like that. So I think everybody should know this. Yeah.
Not everyone owns a car. Not everyone's a car enthusiast, but everyone is a road user.
Yes.
From this baby to
everybody gets transported
at some point. Yeah. Whether you're a pedestrian, whether you are in a bus, a jeep, a car, we share the road at some point. And it's the last most democratic space any country has is the road. So therefore, it's something that we should really treat like that.
That is a very, very good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Because at some point, the president and a janitor will intersect at that same patch of road, right? There's no there shouldn't be a hierarchy there. Okay, the president has 48 vehicles around, but in theory, you get what I'm getting at, right?
They pass by the same road. Yeah.
They'll share that same patch, and it's equal for both.
Yeah. That's great. Do you think now, going back to infrastructure, because there's a lot of hope in the subway, whenever it may open. I don't know. What is the target?
I think it's 2030.
2030?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like final operation.
Abutan ko pa yun.
Hey, dude, you can sit in EDSA until 2030 just to get some.
Pero kasi there were high hopes for Skyway. Alam mo yan, like, when Skyway opens up, it's gonna decongest everything, blah, 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 di ba? And then it opened up. It did kind of like, right? For a little while, but now I think, I feel like we always fall back to like a rotation of, I don't know.
There's a saying for that, or term. Yeah. It's called induced demand. This is why I'm not a big supporter to build more roads.
Oh, okay.
When I say that, let me qualify, because it's not as easy as not building roads. We need roads.
We'll be very bad if we cut you off right there.
Yeah. We'll be back on this break.
Doesn't like new roads.
No roads. Well, no roads, no traffic. Induced demand.
Yeah.
If you're in a city as congested as Metro Manila, building more roads is like getting a bigger belt to solve a weight problem. It's not going to. Yeah, okay, it'll.
But you're fascinated.
Right. Yeah, now, what all you're doing when you build a new road in a place that's already at capacity, which we're at capacity, is it's induced demand. Now, there's going to be more people using that road and more people generally, because you've given them a space to use it, and a vacuum needs to be filled. People will use that, and before you know it, you're at the baseline again. Do you understand?
So, we just come back. We just come back.
I'll just throw numbers.
Yeah.
Let's say you
Sure.
have 1 million cars, and you build a skyway that's capable of 100,000 cars.
Mm.
Well, now you have 1.1 million cars. So the traffic's still the same, but now you have more volume pa. So where the disclaimer comes in is building roads that lead outside, circumferential roads that go, ring roads that bypass.
Okay.
Those make sense.
Okay.
Getting out of the city, for sure.
But
if you're just going to create more spider webs in the city,
Tama.
yeah, and say, oh, we can fit a road in here.
It's just going to go to the same places
That's
anyway.
it.
Yeah.
And then what you have to understand too is we're living, the roads are a one-dimensional or two-dimensional. We live in a three-dimensional world.
Yeah.
So you imagine every time you build a building up here of 50 stories, they all converge to that one footprint.
Yeah.
That's
they all
the
enter there, they all exit there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when they all go and use the roads, that footprint of this big is all being added, but it's going, and we can only build, or maybe 2 stories at the most with a skyway. We're not building 50-story roads. So you can understand every building that you add to Metro Manila.
God, yeah.
That's what you're dealing with.
One being added all the time.
One being added all the time. And this is, again, in my opinion, it's very horrible planning.
Yeah.
Because you should be saying, look, at some point, Metro Manila, sorry, we're full. Okay? The only thing we can do now is renovate and make things more efficient. But we cannot build anything new anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just, we are at capacity. Now, unless we start building below ground, which is, but subways work, right? And there are subways that are multi-level, like in Japan. They go down deep.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can match it, then we can solve the problem. This is what Elon Musk is doing in Las Vegas, using the Boring Company, because he also sees the same problem about how they're doing it in LA and stuff like that. So you got to build down to counter that. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're as efficient as that. So
we're still like
decentralization.
6 years, the centralization and all those roads leading out would kind of incentivize people like, oh, madali lang pala pumunta dito, and then, diba?
Yes.
Then maybe I live here now.
And then also, if you want to, let's say, build a new road for any reason, I would just hold every permit unless you cleaned up the other road. Because if we have cars parked illegally on these roads,
wala rin.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's try something really radical here. Let's just try following the rules. I know it's radical. Don't call me crazy or a conspiracy theorist, right? But let's say we did what other countries did that worked.
Very controversial.
And actually enforce the very rules. Like I said, there is no parking on these certain roads, right? Because everything should be zoned.
So law enforcement is a big...
Law enforcement is massive because if you have like all these alternate routes that you can get off EDSA, the Mabuhay lanes and all these side streets and stuff, but they're all filled with basketball games, funerals, beauty pageants, you name it, markets, fiestas, the whole bit, right? So, and then the cars parked everywhere.
Yeah.
And once you do that, of course, nobody's going to use that. So we all go back to EDSA. Why can't you clear those roads? There's already national laws. You got to get really radical. You got to get kind of draconian and say, all right, barangay XYZ, for every car that's parked, we will not find the driver. We will find you. You watch how quick.
Tama.
Watch how quick they'll get the drivers out.
Yeah. Oh, because it's the enforcement is going to be
just
forced to,
if you're DILG and you control budgets and you can control these LGUs, say if every single, and you just make it the responsibility of every, you watch how that LGU will police their streets.
Sounds easy.
It sounds easy, but it's anything but. But the theory of it is easy. The application of it is difficult. But what is not difficult that has value in this world? Anything that has value in this world is difficult.
Everything worth doing is
hard. But the thing is, it's not complex in actual theory. It's not rocket science anymore. It's just we've seen how every other country's done it. Why not try the same thing? But no, we're always looking for that magic pill. We're always looking for that. Is there any other way we can do this? Any other way except the one that actually is tried and proven.
Oh nga, no. There's a lot of, we already have a lot of roads, honestly. Like, alam mo yung, if you're going to some place and you get up on Waze and then you get to explore the Philippines, the inner roads of the Philippines, Waze doesn't take into account the amount of like illegally parked cars.
No, it doesn't.
The vendors that are selling vegetables, the motorbikes that are going counterflow, things
AI
like that.
and PI are two different things. So no, the AI cannot understand the
Yeah,
PI.
hindi nila gets.
I'm talking Philippine Islands, just in case you think I'm talking about another thing. But I'm glad you brought up Waze.
Yeah.
Have you noticed Waze has practically given up on us? Have you noticed how erratic it is?
Yeah.
And not just me, right?
Oh yeah, there's sometimes parang they don't even suggest the quickest route anymore.
You're like, bro, what's this? And sometimes you're like, no, I know it's faster here. It's like, no,
the
it's
machine
not.
gave up.
And then you contradict it and
Yeah.
it says recalculating. Oh nga, tama ka pala. And you're like, sometimes it cuts it by half. I have a theory. I think one is it's overwhelmed with our roads, but two, I think one of the closest things I have to a theory in that is with the influx of Grab, Lalamove, all these motorcycles, everyone's now using Waze. It calibrates on the motorcycle now. Because remember, it gets an aggregate.
Yeah.
Before, it would aggregate mostly on cars.
Oh,
Not many, if you notice pre-pandemic, not many bikes were using this.
No.
Now I'm talking about your delivery bikes. This boomed in the pandemic. So now when it doesn't distinguish if you're a car or a bike unless you actually input into your phone. I'm a bike.
I'm a bike, yeah.
Yeah, but who got time for that?
We don't have time for 2 more button presses.
Exactly, right? I mean, I got to get back on TikTok, and start hating on somebody I don't know. But that's true. That's I think the closest thing I can find to a solution why Waze can't keep up because it's now
Tama. And these guys are occupying like 6 sa isang di ba?
Their
Sa isang
footprint's
spot,
1/6, let's say. So there you go. So now it says, hey, I think this last 30 people were pretty quick going through here. Why don't you go through? It's like, yeah, but I got a SUV, and now I'm like in somebody's lounge room. Because some of the roads they bring you are so slow.
Tama.
Yeah.
So far, everything that we talked about is definitely the cause.
Definitely. I wish I could push back on something.
Overpopulation, law enforcement, bad skills, bad attitude, bad ethics,
poor transportation, public transportation, infrastructure. It's all of that. And then, of course, the last thing I keep drumming on is that we are avoiding the elephant in the room, the elephant being tried and proven solutions. It's like we're the only ones who want to find a breakthrough that nobody else has found.
Parang nobody in government or anyone in position hasn't taken a vacation parang abroad.
Man.
Parang di pa nila nakikita yung ibang...
You can't tell. Come on, man. And then
Hong Kong lang.
The other thing that drives me crazy, here's another one, is when I hate it when a politician says, gawin natin yan sa mga, we'll charge for toll on EDSA.
Yeah.
And then you say, hindi. Sa Singapore, di ba? Ginawang ganyan. I hate it when they do that because they cherry pick. They're like, okay, yeah, all right. You pick that little thing. They do charge in Singapore, ERP. They also charge for, what's the term where to own the vehicle, you have to have...
really? So parang luxury tax for owning...
No, not even luxury tax. It's a COE, a certificate of entitlement.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if you buy a car in Singapore, let's say, a Corolla will cost you about $100,000, right?
Wow.
Around about 80 to 100,000. So significantly already more expensive than here. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. You got to get a COE, which means that certificate is worth over $100,000 as well, dollars, for the entitlement to own one.
Wow.
Without that piece of paper,
So it's like another car.
It's like it's sometimes more than another car.
Oh, wow.
Which is why a lot of times in Singapore you see more high-end cars because the COE is one price. So whether you use it for a Civic or a Mercedes-Benz, parehas lang. So if you're going to invest in the COE and then the COE costs more than your... Some people do it, but mostly you'll see... So, okay. But look what naman they provided. You're trying to cherry pick and you're trying to charge us COE, but you haven't got the systems they have there. You fail to supply any of the other side. And then you want to...
They have sidewalks there. Functioning pavement for
they don't have
people to walk on.
Just crossing the street.
Don't have livestock. Exactly.
So there.
So like we've like barely scraped the tip of the iceberg, I think. But these are like already sound solutions. Do you think... Okay, so it's just to wrap up this discussion, I guess. So miracle happened. Somebody in government, all of them collectively had a hive mind and then decided we'll solve this all completely. Let's follow a game plan.
The Avengers.
Everything, the Avengers of solutions. Everything that we thought, they work on it. How long do you think will it make like a very significant impact in our traffic
I think
jams?
we could do, 5 years.
Still 5 years.
I still think 5 years because there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be completed to be able to get to that point that we feel, okay, we've broken the curse, or we've broken the mold, and we've changed it. But in those 5 years, I think we could already see massive dramatic improvements already.
Yeah. Ramdam na. Parang
Yes.
ganun. Yeah.
But in 5 years, once you apply everything, and then you're already, aside from the infrastructure that you have, half a decade of infrastructure, provided we're really working towards
Tama.
it. And then you have 5 years of, let's say, new drivers coming in.
Yeah.
These are not enough, but that's still a new mindset. These drivers have been properly trained.
Tama.
Then you go through a re-education.
They're shaming each other in
but
chats.
because you see how it is naman with parang woke culture and stuff.
Tama.
Not that I support woke culture, but using as an example of how our parents felt one way, but the new generation totally feel a different way, and they see things differently because.
Tama.
And that's how you work on that next generation.
Yeah.
Some of us are way past being...
Wala na.
The subscriber cannot be reached, We can't absorb anymore.
Yeah.
And we're too stuck in our ways. So focus na lang on the new generation.
Tama.
And that new generation has a very powerful impact usually on their parents
Tama.
too. Because like even a good one, here's the environment, right? Growing up, I don't know, well, you're much younger than me, I'm sure. But when I was growing up, we didn't
segregate.
We segregated, but not garbage.
Not in like 4 categories.
They segregated people at that stage. That was really taboo stuff. But yes, we didn't do shit.
Yeah.
So, but then I saw in my lifetime the kids that they were working on the kids, especially when I moved to Australia. I would see it was the kids that were shaming their parents. When the dad would, let's say, throw something out the window, it's like, hey, you're going to kill the koalas.
Yeah.
Where's the koala? It's metaphor, what I mean? But so they have an impact too in solving this culture as well. So I would zero in on them, on the new driving generation, get very strict with the current one. I know it's radical, but let's say if every time people renewed their license, they had to sit a test. I know they were doing that now for certain things, but we were really strict about it. In about 5 years' time, it's arguable. You can argue that everyone will be educated.
Tama.
I know some people have 10-year licenses, but more than 90% have 5-year licenses. So in 5 years' time, by the time everyone renewed, we would have an educated driving public.
Yeah.
So you could start like that. It will be a hassle. Every time you renew, new system, you got to go for a retest at
so
least.
even if we upgrade all the infrastructure and everything.
You have to do all of it.
Yeah.
Because if you... they'll just make it baboy again.
Tama.
It's just a nicer place to piss all over.
Tama.
And we don't want that. We want people to respect where they are and then get into this... and then we have to really work on the culture. The culture is so important because if you're in this frame of mind where it's a transient frame of mind, like it's so bad that you just feel that you treat it like a garbage dump. You don't have to live there because a lot of people feel that it's just... they can't do anything, so they contribute more to the problem.
Tama. But they don't know if it's something, if you bring it up if it's something cultural, it means everybody can just start changing right now.
Yeah,
right?
because you see collectively, wait, now I can see there's movement.
Yeah.
Because I'm part of a movement. People want to be part of a movement. But if you feel like at the moment's individual, what am I going to do? So if I use my signal light on EDSA, nobody, it's like, what have I done? The only thing I've done is I've just not gotten to my destination because as soon as you put they'll cut you. You want to go there?
Exactly.
Not now. It's like, so what I do is I indicate the other way so that then the other guy, never let them know your next
That's
move.
a trick.
That's a trick. Don't do that at home, kids. I'm just kidding.
But it's a nice final point to touch on. Like, it's already a significant improvement if we change our ways of, how do you say this? We are, they always say like in Philippines, traffic rules are suggestions, not rules, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we change our mindset on that, it's already like a good step towards, So it's still, it's a lot.
It's a lot. 45 minutes will not solve this. I'm sorry to break.
But there's a lot. There's a lot we already covered, and I think it's a very fruitful conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome, man.
Medyo Serious Talk Show with Red Oliero airs every Tuesday on One News. And if you don't have a TV like me, just go to YouTube and search it. It's just 5 words, guys. I think. Yeah, 5 words. Just have to search 5 words. And then that's it. Don't wait for the link. Just do that. Just type it. And thank you so much, James Deakin. Thank you,
Pleasure.
everybody.